You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, welcome to the big show, folks. We certainly appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for being here. Another episode of a great, beautiful show on a wonderful day in 2022. There you go. You got to love it. So today we have an amazing author on the show. But in the meantime, as we approach our 13th anniversary, be sure to go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Subscribe to the YouTube channel over there. There's like 4,500 videos. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, our big LinkedIn group newsletter, and a group over there on the LinkedIn channels, if you will. And also make sure you refer the show to your family, friends, relatives. Tell them to join the family that loves you, but doesn't judge you. The best kind of family there is, some people say. I've had people that actually say that on the show. They're like, that is the best kind of family. And I've often thought to myself, wonder what kind of family they have. But, you know, we've all been there. You can't choose your family. You're born with it. But you can choose the Chris Voss Show. That should be an added tagline we'll put on there. He's the author of the newest book that just came out July 2nd, 2022. How to Create $1 Million a Year Income. The Priceless Guide for Insurance Agents, Sales Professionals, and anyone with a big dream. We all have big dreams. Mr. Nicky Billou is on the show with us, and Mr. Perry Wong is also the author of that book, as you look it up on the interwebs to order that up. And there'll be a link on the Chris Voss Show as well. Nicky Billou, aka the Millionaire Maker, is the #1 best-selling author of 8 books, including Finish Line Thinking, How to Think and Win Like a Champion, The Thought Leader's Journey, A Fable of Life, The Power of Connecting, How to Activate Profitable Relationships by Serving Your Network, and How to Create $1 Million a Year Income, the one we just mentioned before. And he's read over 4,000 books in genres from biology, history, fictional literature, self-help, health and fitness, poetry, business, sales, spirituality, and religion. Welcome to the show, Nicky. How are you?
Chris, it's an honor to be here, man. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
It's an honor to have you as well, my friend. Honor to have you as well. So give us your .coms for people who can look you up on the interwebages and find out more about you.
So finishlinethinking.com, eCircleacademy.com, thethoughtleaderrevolution.com, and Nicky, Nicky 360.com. Those are the .coms. I've got a .ca as well, sovereignman.ca. So those are the various websites which kind of are me and all about me.
Awesome sauce. Awesome sauce. Let's lead off with your book a little bit. Give us some deets as to what this book is about.
Well, you know, I've been working with an amazing client of mine. His name's Perry Wong, and Perry is the #1 insurance broker for his company in all of the country of Canada. And this is a man who has, for the past several years, and he's one of my coaching clients, been making $1 million a year income, a 7-figure a year income. And he's one of about 11, 12 folks I've worked with that have made 7 to 8 figures a year in income as a result of working with me. And Perry has always wanted to write a book, to share a story with people. And I love to write books. So we just got together one day and said, let's put a book together showing people, no kidding, what it takes to create a 7-figure income. And that's why the book came into being. And I'll give you a little bit of my own backstory. So I'm originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I am a Christian from Iran. And back when I was a kid, there was something that happened in Iran called the Islamic Revolution. Okay. And we're Christians, and my late father, God rest his soul, was prescient enough to see the writing on the wall and say, this is not going to be a great place to raise my family anymore. We need to hightail it out of here. So what he did was he got us out of Iran and into Canada, into the free West. And I got to tell you one thing. So I am so grateful to my father for doing that. I thank God every day that I get to live in freedom. I know it's really fashionable these days to say America, the West, they're so oppressive, they're so racist, they're so sexist. That's alone a horse manure. This is the freest, most tolerant, most incredible place on earth. We're lucky to be here, and everybody ought to get that. And the people that say otherwise are full of horse manure, and nobody should listen to them. They should ridicule them and mock them into oblivion, number one, because it's freedom. It's the ability to engage in free expression, to engage in the free enterprise system that allows us to create a life and a business of our dreams. And my late father, he was an entrepreneur. And this man was a successful entrepreneur, Christian in Iran. Despite all the prejudice against him, he still made success for himself. And this is a man who uplifted everybody, Chris. Man, he would help you get your start in business. He'd help you find a job. He was also generous. He gave people things. And he would give people things like, apartments, cars, and houses. And you're thinking to yourself, did I hear him right? Did he say apartments, cars, and houses? Yeah, that's what he did. And you might go, who the heck would do that? Well, my father would. Why would he do that? Well, number one, he did that because he was a Christian and he felt, as the Bible said, to whom much is given, much is expected from. And he believed that he had an obligation to give. But the other reason that he did is because he could. He had the financial wherewithal to be able to do that. And so me, being a young boy, I looked up to my dad. I go, I want to be just like that. I want to be an entrepreneur. So I ended up becoming an entrepreneur. And then I saw there's a lot of other entrepreneurs out there who were really good people, but they were suffering, man. They were hurting, They didn't want to come across as pushy or salesy. So they would back off. They didn't want to come across like they had commission breath. You know what I'm saying? So they'd back off and they wouldn't go out there and make the sales that they should. This would hurt them in their business, but also hurt their potential clients because those potential clients wouldn't get to work with these good people. And they ended up working with some charlatan marketer who sold them sizzle and no steak. And so I saw this and I thought, wow, these people they don't want to sell, right? They think sales is a dirty word. And I go, let's help them reframe that. Let's help them not look at it as selling. Let's help them look at it as serving. Because nobody wants to be sold. You don't want to be sold. I don't want to be sold. But everybody wants to be served by caring advocates. So I've been in the business of helping people, over time reframe how they look at things from selling to serving and helping them to really stand out by having a really dialed in message. So they sound different. They don't sound like everybody else. If you ask them what makes you different, they don't say something like, I give great service. You know what I mean? I'm really good at what I do. Unlike all those other people, everybody says that. So you got to have something that really sticks to solving a problem for people. And that's really been, my focus in the world is been to make a difference for people by helping them become successful as entrepreneurs. Because I want to do what my dad did for people. I want to uplift people, man. That's what it's all about for me.
That is awesome, man. And what a hell of a journey too. I've got some friends that came from Iran, and of course you wouldn't want to be there nowadays. What year did you guys leave Iran?
1980.
1980. Wow. Was that before? Was that during the
it was right at the end of the revolution. Yeah. It was the revolution.
Oh, wow.
It happened in 79. The Shah left Iran in February 79. And then by 1980, it was obvious this wasn't going to be a great place for us to continue to be in. So we left.
Boy, you guys called it. That's one of those things. I have a few friends that left Iran, and yeah, they love their life here, and I think they still have family in Iran. But it's sad. The people there. You look at them and you realize that the people are a victim to a repressive government. And you see pictures sometime of what Iran or Afghanistan used to look like. Iraq back in the days of the 60s and 70s when it would seem more, I don't know, people call it Western, but it seemed like more normal. And then you see the repression now. So you've put out this amazing book. You put out 8 other books. Do you want to tease out those books or touch on them at all?
Sure, man. So my first book was Finish Line Thinking, How to Think and Win Like a Champion. I had the good fortune of working with a lot of top performers in a lot of areas. So I've worked with a couple of Olympic gold medal athletes in track and field, Donovan Bailey and Mark McCoy. My better half has set 3 Guinness World Records for running 12 hours on a treadmill. I've worked with the #1 salesperson in the top real estate company in Canada. I've worked with the best of the best of the best. And, I found something out. These folks don't think like everybody else. They think differently. They think like winners, right? And I've always been fascinated by what has somebody, be successful, and somebody maybe equally talented, maybe even more talented, not be successful.
Mhm.
And I discovered that it's their mindset, the way they think. So finish line thinking is about having that mindset of a gold medal winning champion. I wrote that
Mhm.
book. That was my first book. It became, a #1 international bestseller in a whole bunch of different countries. And this book's been really great for me because it allowed me to be seen as an authority, as an expert, as a thought leader. And it's helped me earn millions of dollars, not from book sales, but from, people reading the book and becoming interested in how I could be of service to them inside their businesses. So that book helped me generate lots and lots of clients. So it's fantastic. So that's the first book that I wrote. The second book I wrote was actually a children's book. So I got a couple of sons, right now they're teenagers, but back then they were, 6, 7, 8 years old. I wanted to write a book to teach them the principles of free market capitalism. So I wrote a book called Kathy Capitalist and Johnny Jobmaker, which is all about this man and this woman, Kathy Capitalist and Johnny Jobmaker, and how they go about creating jobs and creating businesses. It's a beautiful, fantastic book. Anybody who has little kids and believes in free enterprise should buy a copy of this book and read it to their kids as bedtime reading at night.
That is awesome. Yeah, if I had kids, I would have taught them entrepreneurism. I would have been like, you will have a business by 8 or 10. I had my little lawnmower business when I was, I think, 7, 8, 9. And then by 10, I was doing my own paper delivery routes, had my own route. And of course, I was still doing the lawn business on the side. I think, teaching entrepreneurism is just so important, especially to kids at an early age, where they start that mindset of self-accountability and then being empowered to have control of their life, where they're not just sitting around going, hope someone gets me a job.
Exactly.
Hi folks, Chris Voss here with a little station break. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. We'll resume here in a second. I'd like to invite you to come to my coaching, speaking, and training courses website. You can also see our new podcast over there at chrisvossleadershipinstitute.com. Over there, you can find all the different stuff that we do for speaking engagements if you'd like to hire me, training courses that we offer, and coaching for leadership, management, entrepreneurism, podcasting, corporate stuff. With over 35 years of experience in business and running companies as CEO, I think I can offer a wonderful breadth of information and knowledge to you, or anyone that you want to invite me to for your company. Thanks for tuning in. We certainly appreciate you listening to the show, and be sure to check out chrisvossleadershipinstitute.com. Now back to the show. So I think that's a beautiful thing. Do you want to touch on some of the other books?
Sure. And then I wrote a book called The Thought Leader's Journey, a fable of life, and it's told in the form of a fable, just like Og Mandino's great books, like The Greatest Salesman in the World. And it's a fable about a fellow named Paolo who works in a big company. He doesn't want to, but he's too scared to go out there and take the leap into entrepreneurship. And this is the story of how he goes about doing that and all the principles and lessons that are important. So it's a cool book, really does a really good job of showing you how you can build your own expert thought leader type business.
Oh, wow.
Then, yeah, it's pretty cool. And then after that, I wrote another book called, Power of Connecting, How to Activate Profitable Relationships by Serving Your Network. I wrote that with Kai Bjorn. Kai is the country director for BNI Canada. He's a former world champion sailor. And so this was a cool book that we wrote together. Then a political book with Wayne Allen Root, who was a 2008 candidate for vice president for the Libertarian Party. And it's called The Great Patriot Protest and Boycott Book, a priceless book for Christians, conservatives, and Trump warriors on how to cancel culture. Yeah, it's a pretty cool book. That's actually my best-selling book to date. And then my latest book, How to Create $1 Million a Year Income.
Nice. So you coach a lot of people too as well.
I do.
Do you want to talk about your coaching business?
Yeah. So, I typically work with entrepreneurs. And one of the key areas of focus for us is working with folks who are coaches, consultants, corporate trainers, authors, speakers. People who have an expertise. And one of the problems a lot of these folks have is they don't like to sell. They're worried about coming across as pushy and salesy. So that's one of the things we do is we help them get past that. We help them reframe their mindset around that So they go from struggling to make money to making wonderful amounts of money and still feeling good about themselves, feeling good about the way that they serve clients and the way that they enrolled them into their programs. So that's kind of what we do. And another thing we help these folks do is to stand out, because a lot of them, their messaging is just terrible. They're good at delivering, but they're not good at creating a message that attracts people to them. So we help them create a powerful message and position themselves as thought leaders. And that's what it's all about as far as we're concerned. So if someone's listening to this and they're a service-driven entrepreneur and they've been doing decently, but maybe they're stuck on a bit of a plateau, that's a pretty cool thing for us to talk to them about. How is it that you got started in business? What is your biggest problem right now? They'll tell us what that is. And then what have you tried to solve it, and how well has it worked? Obviously not very. And then we'll tell them, what's the impact of this on you? What are the consequences of you not having your business be where it needs to be? How's it making you feel? Is it having an impact on your relationship with your significant other, with your wife, with your husband? What's it doing to your ability to fulfill your dreams? Are you able to buy your dream home, or have you had to put it off? Do you have to rent rather than own? All that stuff. So we help them get clear on what the consequences of not living their dream life are. And then we put them in a place where, so are you ready to do something about it? Or do you want to keep paying these consequences? That is how we help people.
Awesome sauce. That's pretty brilliant. And then you have a podcast too. Tell us a little bit about that. I'm looking at the podcast site right now, and there's a lot of great people you've interviewed on it. I think I'll be on it next week, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So we interview thought leaders. We interview people who are, experts, top people inside their field. And the purpose of the podcast is to learn from these folks, from their backstory and their experience, how they went from tragic to magic, how they created a wonderful business for themselves. And then we want our listeners to listen to them, to learn from them, and to use what they learn inside their own business. And then we do 2 episodes a week. One's an interview, and then the second one is me just doing a solo episode. And that solo episode, I basically take a nugget in business that could be helpful to those folks. So one of the nuggets is take the attention off you, put the attention on your client. So we talk about that all the time, right? Other nugget is, make sure that you're clear about who you help, clear about the problem you solve. Don't try to be all things to all people, those sorts of things. So that's what we put on the podcast, and folks listen to it because they want to get value and they want to use it to become more successful instead of what they do. It's
awesome sauce. I'm going through some of the guests you have, and I recognize some of them. Here's Alex and Filippo from Podmatch. Yeah, we use this service, pay for it every month. It's a great service. And then a lot of other good people on how to make money and be successful. And you've been doing this for 20 years now, correct?
The podcast,
or just everything you do.
Yeah.
Everything.
Been on since 2016.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And 400 episodes, almost. I think you're almost to 400.
Yeah.
I see there, 396, 392. You're almost to 400. Congratulations.
We're getting there, man. Thank you.
Isn't it amazing how, when you first start, I remember when we first started the podcast, the Chris Voss Show, and I was like, put up a post, put up another post. Okay, there's 3 up there.
Yeah.
And you're like,
right.
We got to make some content. And now you look back and you're just like, I can't feel my legs. What the hell happened? Thousands of pieces of content out there, and you just looks at it and grows, and you're just like, wow. I mean, I'm tired. I want to go take a nap. That was so much work.
Yeah, brother. Amen.
That's pretty
Amen.
Good. What are some other things maybe we haven't covered about you so that people can get to know you better?
Well, I'll tell you a couple stories of some of the folks I've worked with, because for me, I think it's more important to talk about other people, because I think one of my mentors told me once that life isn't a numbers game. Life is a people game, and business isn't a numbers game. Business is a people game. You got to be there to help the people. After all, what is business? Business is about solving an acute problem for somebody for profit. But you got to solve the problem for a human being, and to me, that's important. So less talk about me, more talk about the people. So I'll tell you a couple stories. A while ago, we had a lady was the country director for one of the major personal development organizations that was a global organization, been around since the late 60s. And she brought on somebody to be her partner. And this fella and her just, it didn't work. And she ended up leaving, not him. And she was floundering for about 18 months. She came, started working with us. We helped her narrow her niche. We helped her get really clear on her message, on who she wanted to help and how to do it. And once we did that, she started to make money. In her first month, she made 10 grand in profit. In her second month, she made 12 grand in profit. And in her third month, she made 18 grand in profit.
Wow.
But in her fourth month, Chris, she made $62,200 in profit. That figure will become germane in a moment. That's a lot of money, right? In a month. That's for some people, that's a year's worth of income.
That's
right?
true. Yeah. Some people, it's a year.
So anyways, she lives in Ottawa and I live in Toronto, 5 hours drive apart. I have a son who was 12 at the time. He's 16 now. He plays high level soccer and he had a tournament in Ottawa. So I drove my son to Ottawa and I called her up and I said, hey, you got a son, my son's age. You want to get together with us when the tourney's over? Let's have some lunch on our way out of the city. And she said, sure. And so we did that. We spent an hour or so with him and then we drove home. And a few weeks later, she came to Toronto for our quarterly branded thought leader immersion workshop. And there's a part of that where I do an enrollment for new people to enroll them into our year-long program. And I don't usually do the enrollment piece myself. I ask people to come and share their thoughts. So she said, okay, let me come on. I'd like to come on. So she bounded on the stage and proceeded to cry. And like any red-blooded man faced with a crying female, I panicked. And so I just said, why is she crying? What did I do wrong? And then she looked at me and said, Nicky, between sobs, you didn't know this, but when your little son and my little son came to me, I when you called me, I told my little son, asked me, mommy, who are we going to go meet? And she says, oh, we're going to go meet Nicky, Billou and his son.
Oh, wow.
And she said, oh, mommy, are we going to meet the man who saved our family? And Chris, I looked at her, I started to bawl. And look, Chris, I'm a man's man. I'm an alpha male. I don't cry in public, but I started to bawl and she, we hugged and between sobs, she said, you didn't know this, but we were about to lose everything. The bank was foreclosing on our home. My husband and I were fighting. We were about to, possibly break up our family and, working with you saved our family.
Oh, wow.
And every single time I get to work, I think about her. I think about her family.
Wow.
And I ask myself, God, will you send me someone else like her?
Yeah.
Will you send me one of your flock who needs a warrior, a champion? Just sit down with them, grab them by the hand and help them win. Cause that's why I do what I do, and it was awesome. And it is awesome. And that's what animates me every day, so that's one story.
That is awesome. I when I was when I was writing my book last year, I was hitting the wall of burnout because I crammed it in like three months, and I was complaining about it online or something like that. I think I was at the point where I was doing the Nicholson all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. I was pretty much at that where I was typing that pretty much. I think I was starting to talk to voices and shit in my head, which are different because normally there's, just other voices in my head, but that thing. But she said to me one time, she goes, there's somebody out there that needs you to write this book and they're waiting for you to write it. And they need to hear your message. And this book isn't about you. This book is about the message you're going to share with somebody that really needs this message right now. And your message is going to come at the perfect time that they need it. You're going to touch them at the perfect time that they need it. I had another author on the show who talked about it where she, just wrote books. I don't think there were anything spectacular. I think there were novels or just historical novels, but she wrote books. And then one day at a book signing, she met a woman who'd come out of prison And she told her about how all the women in the prison had her books in their library and were using them to lift themselves and inspire themselves and to make better plans for their future once they got out. And so she keeps a picture of that woman at her writing desk in the orange jumpsuit that she sent her. And so she focuses on writing for this person. And it was really powerful, because obviously I was being in a very selfish place, but being in a place where you're like serving other people, being a place of gratitude, just makes all the difference. And, there's 2 times on Twitter where we used to have a feed on Twitter that would go into our Twitter accounts. It would just do quotes, and it was totally random. It was all automated, and it would just pump quotes into my Twitter between whatever I decided to say. And 2 times over 10 years, I had someone write me privately and say they were going to commit suicide that day. That was the day they decided that this is done. And for some reason, those tweets that I put out in a completely random manner touched them and inspired them not to kill themselves. And I've had 2 people tell me over 10 years. And sometimes you just don't know, like the beautiful story you had there, where you don't know how much of a difference you make in someone's life. And that's probably more important as to why we should do what we do and share and try and inspire and help other people. So that's a beautiful story.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you. Amen, brother. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Now, I got another story for you.
Yeah.
There was a young man who came to work with us, and he was in his mid-20s. He was a personal trainer, and he was having a hard time getting clients. He had like 7 clients. He was making $1,800, $1,500 a month. He had to borrow money from his mom and dad so he could make rent and eat every month. You know what I mean? Like that's,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you think about that, that's pretty wild. So he started to work with us and said to him, look, man, who do you work with? And he goes, oh, I'll work with anybody. And that's the worst thing you can say in business. I'll work with anybody. And that basically means you have no value and nobody wants you.
Exactly.
So he said, look, you got to go figure out, you got to narrow your niche. Right? So he's like, okay, I'll start working with doctors. Doctors are great. The only reason he picked doctors is because they had money. And obviously that was not compelling to doctors. So he didn't really do too well with that. So then he said, okay, I'll narrow my niche even more. I'll work with cardiologists. Yeah. Well, that didn't work out. And then all of a sudden he started working with this one dude who was a Paralympian. He had a childhood accident and his leg had been cut off when he was a little boy. And he came to me and he said, oh my God, I love working with this guy. He says he really needs me, and I'm really moved by helping him. It's like an honor to work with him. And
wow.
Anyways, long story short is he said, I think I want to work with people with missing limbs. And I'm like, okay. Nobody went after people with missing limbs. It wasn't like a big market for personal trainers and so forth, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking about people who'd had childhood accidents, people who'd been born without a limb, people who had served in the military and, been wounded in combat, like that kind of person, right?
Yeah.
Forgotten people. And bro, he signed up 400 clients in 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
400. He couldn't do one-on-one training anymore with that many clients. Obviously, he had to on the fly come up with some sort of online whatever program. And he went from making $1,500 a month to making $15,000 a month.
Wow.
And more in 20 and 30. And why? Why? Because he came from his heart and wanted to genuinely serve people that needed him. And his message to this particular group of people was, I'm going to train you hard. You are going to work out. You are going to be like a physical beast. You can work out just as hard as anybody else. There's no reason why you can't. And you imagine if someone had a missing limb, put yourself in their metaphorical shoes. They probably are, feeling a little down on themselves. They probably are thinking that their life can't be as good, as rich as someone who has all their limbs. They definitely can't work out hard like someone who has all their limbs.
Yeah.
and they probably are beating themselves up unknowingly, or maybe even knowingly. It's a horrible thing, right?
Yeah.
And this man's message to them on the surface of it was, I'm going to train you. We're going to work out. But the deeper message was, I love you. You're awesome. And you're a badass. And I'm not going to let you forget it.
Wow.
And Chris, like, that's how come this guy just made a crap load of money,
That's the thing I love about being an entrepreneur. You solve a problem, you fix something, and you create something. And sometimes you're just solving your own problem where you're just like, this paperclip doesn't work right. This could be designed better. I can think of a better way. You're always making the widget better. In service, you're doing something like what you talked about. And let me ask you this, because you kind of given me the epiphany that when we're acting in the service of others, when we can enact that passion for something that really motivates us to help other people. Because a lot of people, will be like, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur. Okay, what do you want to do? I don't know, I just want to be an entrepreneur. Why? So you can make money. Well, that's not it's not really how it works. You gotta serve people, you gotta come up with the concept, you gotta sell something, and you gotta kind of find whatever it is you're good at that people will buy, product or service. But I think when you find something that has that power behind it, of your passion, of wanting to really help people, that makes all the difference in the world. When I had my companies, I talked about this. When I had my companies, I was just an investor. I wasn't interested in like, I didn't have a love for a career company. I didn't have a love for a mortgage company. I love the white collar aspect of it, but I looked at everything as an investor. And as we built our empire of companies, I really had a hard time with motivation and just because I didn't love what I did. I didn't care about it. I'm just like, it's a business that makes a profit. It was a widget. It was a product. I just didn't give a shit about it. A lot of entrepreneurs, God bless them, they find a business they love and they love it and they build it, and that's their child. And mine were children to me, but I didn't love them. And so when you don't love something, you end up hating it, which is probably describes my first 9 marriages. It's one of those things. And so people used to just crush me. People would come into my office and they'd be like, it's so great that you're an entrepreneur. You found what you love to do and you do it. And I'm like, I don't fucking love any of this. And then people would say to me, well, what do you love to do? And I'm like, you know what? I don't have a fucking clue. How sad is that I make all this money and have all this success, whatever. And I'm unhappy, miserable, and everyone hates me. No matter the more money I make, the more people hate me, pretty much. And yeah, it was just a horrible place to be. And trying to search for something that I really loved and enjoyed, serving and helping other people. So I think from what you've talked about with your stories, is when you can really, especially with that gentleman who helped people with limbs, when you can really help people and your passion, that comes out of you, you're not just sitting there going, I want to make a buck, and people can feel that. They can be inspired by that, and you can really touch people in a way that you can't otherwise touch.
100%, man. 100%.
Yeah.
Like I said, like my mentor said, this is a people game. It's not a numbers game. It's not a money game. It's a people game. And if you look at it that way, you'll be a lot more fulfilled. Listen, I understand being an investor and just putting your money in and wanting to get a return. That's cool. And there's aspects to being an investor. It can be fun. You can have a lot of passion for, creating something good and success for yourself and your family and jobs and all that jazz. I just think that it's so much more fulfilling, man, if you tie it to a purpose bigger than self. Because if your purpose is, I want to make money for me and mine, it ain't enough, man. It ain't enough. It's not going to drive you forever. It's going to make you miserable, like you said, and you're going to hate yourself and other people are going to hate you and all that jazz. But if you're doing something because it's a good idea, it's a beautiful thing, man. It's totally beautiful. So I'll tell you another story. I had this client, right? His name's Steve. Steve's a relationship coach for men, right? And he specialized in working with dudes in distress, who's like wives that said, bye-bye, get out of here. And you think about this, right? Like, I can do a little bit of that myself just because I went through a rough divorce. So I got a little program I do called Make Your Life Great Again. But I was helping Steve because what Steve did saved marriages, saved families, saved lives. But Steve was nervous about charging what he was worth. So he charged this ridiculously low amount of money, like $90 for an hour and a half session. So I like said, Steve, man, look, you're saving lives, man. You got to charge based on the value of the solution. How much is it worth to save a marriage? Well, the average marriage in the United States cost $150,000. The average divorce, excuse me, $150,000.
Is that true?
$150,000.
Wow.
And on top of that, there's all the emotional distress on you, on your kids. And that's, you can't put a number on that, right?
You can't. Especially when you run into parental alienation, which happens a lot.
Oh, it's huge.
And the kids are kept from the dad. Yeah.
No, it's messed up, man. I run a men's organization, bro. Sovereignman.ca. That's why I told you about that. Look, I'm all about serving the men. And in fact, when you and I are done, I got to grab a quick bite, and then we're doing a Zoom call tonight with the men. So the deal is that Steve undercharged. So I made him double his prices immediately. And that was still not enough. So I made him double them again. Okay. A funny thing happened. These men who were broken and hurting and, some of them contemplating suicide, like you said, started signing up with him in ever increasing numbers.
Wow.
Now, why would they do that? Why would they pay 4 times the price? And why would more people pay 4 times the price? Well, I'm glad you asked, Chris Voss, because people value something that they're invested in, while they don't value something they're not invested in. Mm-hmm. So, Chris, listen, let's say you wanted to grow your business now I've got all these books I've written, and you can buy them for $20 a piece. If you buy all my books, you spend $160. Let's say you read them all, right? In my experience with the thousands upon thousands of people that have read my books, not one has only read my book and become a millionaire or added $1 million to their income. Not one. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, of the people that have paid me tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars to work with me, you want to guess what percentage of those have made several hundred thousand to tens of millions of dollars out of working with me?
Probably 90, I don't know, 95%, 100%. I don't know.
Well, it's not that high, but it's over 60%.
Okay. Yeah. It's got to be good though, because one of the challenges of books is people buy a book and they think they get the knowledge from assimilation. Like I'm guilty of that. I have like 50,000 audiobooks that I bought over the years. And I'm like, yeah, I get to reading that one. And then I buy another one and I'm like, yeah, I get to read it. It's like if the book is near me, like here's a book, I'm being assimilated by the knowledge. It's coming to
me. Right, exactly. So Buddy Steve started to help more people make more money, which is good for him. But more families didn't break up because of this, bro. More children didn't grow up having to shuttle between 2 homes.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Fewer men killed themselves because of the horrific pain of divorce and feeling like a loser or failure.
Yeah.
Brother, what I did is I saved lives, bro. By helping this man charge more and earn what he's worth, I saved lives, bro. Lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did. I mean, men kill themselves either outright in depression after divorces and losing access to their kids.
6 times the rate of women, bro. Six
times the rate of women. And then if they don't do it by killing themselves in suicide, they do it by drugs, alcohol. As men, we're really bad at going to the doctor. Depression, that kills us off. And a lot of that doesn't get tracked very well because of how long sometimes it takes to kill us off. But a lot of it's really there. I've had a lot of friends that have, had the parental alienation game played with them and they can't see their kids, but they always get the child support that always gets collected from the state. But there's no laws that force, hey, it's shared custody. It's his weekend. You gotta do it. And it's pretty sick. Some of the things that are out there that people do to hurt someone that is actually very destructive to their own children. So
It's
yeah.
absolutely horrible. And as a man, what makes a man are two things. Number one is he's got to keep his word. I know there's a lot of folks out there these days, and there's all kinds of videos put out there by guys, like Andrew Tate and Rollo Tomasi and all these guys. And there's a lot of good to what they say, but I never hear them talk about the importance of a man keeping his word. They talk about strengthen your mindset, strengthen your body, go make money, blah, blah, blah. All that's well and good, but they never talk about keep your damn word. Keep your damn word. That's what makes a man a man. If your word is countable to you and others, you're a man. If it's not, you're not. So I'll give you an example. If in your head, you tell yourself, I'm going to get up at 6:00 tomorrow, and you get up at 6:30, you didn't keep your word. What happens when you don't keep your word? You lose faith in yourself. You lose faith in your word. You become mentally weaker because you didn't keep your damn word. Chris, and because you didn't keep your damn word, your belief, your self-belief goes down. You become a beta male cuck, a soy boy. And you may have like big dreams to say, oh, I'm going to be a multimillionaire. I don't believe that anymore. You don't believe that because you didn't believe yourself when you said 6:00 and you did 6:30. Or when you told that person you were going to be there at 8 and you were there at 8:15. You don't believe yourself anymore. Or if you were no-show to the meeting entirely, you got to fix all those and you got to keep your word. So to me, the number one thing I teach men is keep your word.
Definitely.
That's
Definitely.
it. Keep your word.
What's the website for that again?
Sovereignman.ca. Sovereignman.ca. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry for cutting you off there.
No, bro. It's all good. The second thing that a man's got to do is take 100% ownership for everything, even the shit that he didn't do. So I'll tell you this right now. If your ex-wife is not letting you see your kid, don't blame her. Blame you. Blame you. Why do I say that? There's no power in blaming her. You gave all your power to her if you blame her. You said, oh, she's so powerful. She's made my life miserable. No, she has decided to make you suffer because of how you were with her. Like it or not, that's a fact. She's decided to make you suffer. Okay. Now you can squawk about it and blame her and go, what an evil, horrible person she is. Okay. And if I tell you the story of what happened in my, separation, divorce initially, which I'm not going to do right now, you'd be horrified. Horrified.
Wow. Yeah.
But I turned that crap around. And right now, me and my ex have a great relationship. She came on vacation with me and the kids and my new lady twice.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So think about that, right? Now, was it a bit better if we didn't break up? Absolutely. I fought hard to keep us together, but she didn't want to stay together. And at some point, you know what? You got to accept no for an answer. You know what I'm saying? But the fact of the matter is, you got to take ownership for that. And yeah, she's behaving in whatever way she's behaving, but how can you take ownership? There's a great book called Extreme Ownership written by Jocko Willink and Lace Babin. I read that book and I had the men in our community read it a couple months ago. It was the book of the month, right? And that book is all about you taking extreme ownership of everything. And I read that book and I'm like, I don't take enough ownership. And I take ownership more than most do, but I don't take enough ownership. I'm a wuss when it comes to taking ownership. And right now, I want to be better at taking more ownership of more things.
Definitely. I mean, that's the beauty of a man. Our ability to be self-accountable and we live in the real world with logic, reason, et cetera, et cetera. Well, this has been an interesting discussion. Nicky? Anything more you want to tease out on what we do as we round out the hour?
So two things, Matt. Someone's listening to this show and they're a man and, they're feeling like they are wanting to step up their game as a man. They want to be sharper, better in all areas of life. They want to be able to keep their word better and they know their word is pretty crap. Then they should come to sovereignman.ca, check out what we do there. So that's number one. Number two, if you're a business owner and your business right now is not where you want it to be, and you need to be honest with yourself about that, and you want to change that, you should go to my website, eCircleacademy.com, and click on the Book of Success call button. Do it. Don't think about it. Just do it. Jump on a call and say, Nicky, my business ain't where I want it to be. How can I fix it? And we're going to have an honest conversation about how to do that. That's it.
There you go. Awesome sauce. Awesome sauce. I definitely love the silver men thing, especially. There's so many. The last couple of generations, I was fortunate to be raised by an alpha father, and so many of these last two generations have been really weakened. And I see the simps that are out there that they like every woman's post on Instagram or whatever, and they're sending them money and DMs and their eyes of OnlyFans, and I'm just like, and they think that somehow that will work for them, and I grew up in an age where you go cold contact with a woman and walk up to her and pitch her and hit on her and get her phone number, and you dealt with rejection sometimes, but if you had good game, you get it. And so I just don't understand sending a woman 50 million DMs every day. Like, I'm just like, what the hell are you doing? Like, close, and take her on a date.
You should definitely do that, honestly. But basically, if you're the kind of man who hasn't got what it takes to go approach a woman, you're scared or nervous, my advice to you is stop trying to date. Start becoming a man of substance and value, right? Andrew Tate talks about a man's got to be a man of value. I 100% agree with him on that. The number one thing that makes you a man of value to yourself is you give your word, you keep your word. Give your word, you keep your word. Get good at that. You get good at giving your word and keeping your word. You'll get good at making money. You'll get good at making things happen and being successful. And women, the laws of hypergamy state that women appreciate winners. They appreciate alpha men. They don't want nice simps. So when a woman is around a man who keeps his word, he doesn't have to open his mouth. He doesn't have to be good looking. He doesn't have to be fit with rock hard abs. He could be old and fat. I knew this dude back when I was in my 20s. And in my 20s, I was a physical beast. I was ripped, but I didn't have all that much confidence in myself. And this dude, Ron, he had mondo confidence in himself. He was old, fat, and bald. And this was a man who always kept his word. Zero exceptions. I'm telling you, there were like the young and beautiful women, and he was the manager of the mailroom or whatever, the director of all that. There'd be women like, because I was a low level dude, and I'd go in the mailroom, and him and I would chat, and I'd see these young hotties, okay, that I just would look at him and I'd just get nervous and scared because I wanted to approach him and I didn't have the balls to do it back then. And they would just go to him and they would just like, they were trying to like get him to take them to bed. Like he was a married man. He wasn't going to do that. Right. But like, it was hilarious watching them throw themselves at this old, fat, confident, bald man, and
women have an innate ability to sense value, and men don't realize that. They really don't. And women see when women see a man walk into a room, they measure him up almost immediately, and they know whether he's valuable, whether he's confident, whether he can command a room. They have an innate ability to sense that, whether they even realize it or not. And men don't realize that. And when you're simping and sending 50 messages a day to a woman, some girl in Miami or something that, you're never going to be able to date her, you're just wasting your time. So,
listen, man, I'm 55 years old. I'm in a wonderful committed relationship with a beautiful lady, right? But if I were single right now, I'm telling you, I'd do a lot better than the 20-year-old version and the 25-year-old version of me ever would. And
it's pretty nice. It's like a culture out here.
Yeah, not for that reason, but I'm just saying I would be doing better because I don't care, and I just go and do my thing. You know what I mean? And if a female liked it, great, and if she didn't, great.
Yeah.
Like I just know I look at myself now. I don't want to be single. I love my woman. I love being with her, but I just like I look at these young dudes and how they act, and I go, dude, you know what you're doing there.
Yeah.
They got to go through it. That's who I was. I was a man who lacked confidence in himself as a man when I was in my 20s. I just did. Yeah.
It's really easy to stand out too.
Yeah, I dated because I still took action. And I was like a fit, good looking young man, but that dude was just, and he is 10 times the man most young men today are. And that's sad. Honestly.
Being able to play dark triad traits helps as well. So fun is fun, man. It's been wonderful to have you on the show, Nicky. Thanks for coming on. Give me your .com so we can find them on the interwebs again.
The best one is eCircleacademy.com. And the second one, sovereignman.ca. Let's just have folks go to those two main ones.
There you go. Check it out, guys. A wonderful discussion today with Nicky. Order up his newest book if you want, and all of his books, actually. How to Create $1 Million a Year Income, the priceless guide for insurance agents, sales professionals, and anyone with a big dream. It came out July 2nd, 2022. So if you're watching this 10 years from now, you'll know. You don't put comments on my videos that say, dummy, that was 10 years ago. They do that all the time. It's really annoying. But be sure to order up his book and see it wherever fine books are sold. To mount it, further show your family, friends, and relatives. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss, all the places on the internet. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. And we'll see you next time.
Awesome.